able to, in a conscious way, in a determination, shift its flagship programs to the online platform. And we are going on very successful. And Modulo IC, which is our one of flagship program, which is adopted and approved by the Council of Foreign Ministers of Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and which means that it gets adopted and approved by the 56 member states, is one of the 14 one of 14 activities mentioned in the Joint Youth Action Plan. Until now, we were implementing this project in the different member states with collaboration with the governments and the relevant bodies in that countries. But due to this pandemic, we have to also switch this initiative to the online level. And now we have honor here to launch the opening ceremony of the first International Modulo IC Virtual. First of all, I would like to explain you that and thank the ICYF team that for the last 2 months, we were working together about transforming this diplomatic simulation program to the online level. And this 2 months long effortless work will bring us this new concept. And we received more than 1,000 applications. And at final, we after the assessments of our committees, we selected 120 young diplomats, youth leaders from 50 different countries. And when I check at the countries, it's a very big proud for us, because I think 6 continents out of 7 continents has been represented here. And if there were a country in the Antarctica, I believe that it will be also here. So during that program, as is the first lesson, I want to opening session. I want to talk about what will be the technical modality for till to the 10th of June. We will going to take the courses of the 4 different committees. It is the COMSEC, Standing Committee for Economic and Commercial Cooperation. Today will be the lecture of it. And the second one will be the Independent Permanent Human Rights Council, IPHRC, and Ministers in Charge of Women, Islamic Conference of Health and Health Ministers. And this program, as we did in the real world, in offline world, is the simulation of the OIC system. And this gives an important opportunity for the youth to experience the diplomatic procedures of the OIC bodies, ministries, councils, and also develop their insights about the issues. So it's both an academic training program as well as a diplomatic simulation program. It's a unique opportunity, and I congratulate all of our esteemed delegates who are selected to be part of this important project. And as the launch of the ceremony, I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Taha Ayhan to deliver the opening remarks of the first International Modulo OIC Virtual, which has been launched officially right now. Thank you. Yes, please, Mr. President. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Ahmet Halit Bey. Selamünaleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuhu. And hello to all esteemed young leaders and future diplomats. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you among you. Inshallah, we will have a very great virtual MOIC, which is also the first time that we are organizing due to the COVID-19 pandemic as an unprecedented conditions. But as far as we experience that organizing such online camps and virtual virtual trainings are very delightful. Probably we will continue this kind of virtual conventions for the next steps. I would like to begin my speech with greeting all of you and congratulate you to be selected for ICYF first International Modulo OIC Virtual. Additionally, I would like to congratulate ICYF team for successful preparations of the event. Also, of course, special thanks to our speaker today, Dr. Hashim Hussein, head of UNIDO ITPO Bahrain, a very valuable partner and esteemed friend, and a brother and a guide to us on many levels. I believe he is one of the best on his topic, and our participants should feel lucky to be here today and get an opportunity to interact with Dr. Hashim. And I'm honored to announce that during 2 weeks, we are going to host important speakers as well as Dr. Hashim. And I'm also very excited to hear the words of Dr. Hashim, inshallah. Diplomacy has existed since the beginning of the human race, as you know. The act of conducting negotiations between two persons or two nations at a large scope is essential to the upkeep of international affairs. Among the many functions of diplomacy, some include preventing war and violence and fortifying relations between two nations. Diplomacy is most importantly used to complete a specific agenda. Therefore, without diplomacy, much of the world's affairs would be abolished. International organizations would not exist, and above all, the world would be at a constant state of war. It is for diplomacy that certain countries can exist in harmony. There are, in fact, many functions of diplomacy that make diplomacy an essential ingredient for any peaceful and efficient change. The reason to negotiate with other persons has always been the same: to have better relations. Over the course of diplomacy being in existence, the structure of diplomatic posts has changed from a loose one to an organized institution made for a specific purpose. While the structure of diplomatic posts has changed, the functions always remain the same. There are 4 functions of diplomacy. The first function involves representing a state's interests and conducting negotiations or discussions designed to identify common interests as well as areas of disagreement between the parties for the purpose of achieving the state's goals and avoiding conflict. Representations of a state as well as negotiation are the most important functions of diplomacy. Negotiations between two representatives are a key component in diplomacy because in doing so, the representatives find a common interest. Finding a common interest is vital in conducting negotiations because with a common interest, representatives are able to devise a solution that is in the interest of both sides. This event, under reference, aims to enhance intellectual capacities of young generation while raising awareness and promote the OIC as a leading international institution throughout the young men and women of its member states and non-OIC states in the context of efforts done in youth empowerment in the field of diplomacy and decision-making. Additionally, as a leading youth and future diplomat, you are going to discuss pressing issues related to the COVID-19 and its global impact while engaging in practice of diplomacy during 2 days simulation of OIC Council of Foreign Ministers. Without going any further and take your time, I would like to yield the floor to our valuable speaker, and I know you have many things to learn from him today. Before leaving the floor, I once again wish you all success, and I pray that Allah Almighty to keep you and your family safe and in peace during these difficult times. I thank you, all of you, for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We are honored by this speech. And by the speech of this excellent president, the first international model OIC Virtual has been officially launched. And congratulations to all selected participants. And we are wishing you luck on this important program to being an effective diplomat. And now we have great pleasure to introduce you our first speaker of the first International Model OIC Virtual, Dr. Hashim Hussein. I want to talk briefly about Dr. Hashim, who is the head of United Nations Industrial Development Organization Investment and Technology Promotion Office in the Kingdom of Bahrain and the Arab International Center for Entrepreneurship and Investment. He is also the executive director of the World Entrepreneurs Investment Forum, the Secretary General of the Maritime Continent Silk Road Entrepreneurs Alliance, and the elected vice chairman of the Maritime Continental Silk Road Alliances. Mr. Dr. Hashim Hussein is a well-known international level speaker about today's topic. And we are very honored to have the doctor here to meet with the leading youth figures from the 50 different countries to share his experience. And Dr. Hashim Hussein is not only an theoretical expert about the entrepreneurship at global level, but we are also experiencing and enjoying his practical and real support to the economic empowerment of the youth, and which we appreciated. And I have to mention that ICWAV's flagship economic empowerment project, the Young Business Hub, which is approved by the Council of Foreign Ministers of OIC, has been launched in Bahrain in collaboration with the Dr. Hashim Hussein, UNIDA ITPO Bahrain, which is organized, the launching ceremony organized at the sidelines of the World Entrepreneurship Investment Forum, which is organized under the patronage of His Highness, the King of Bahrain, His Highness Hamid bin Isa Khalifa, and we want to re-express our gratitude for that opportunity as well. And now I want to give the floor to the Dr. Hashim Hussein to deliver the first lecture of the Standing Committee for Economic and Commercial Cooperation, which is a shift in the paradigm, the potential opportunities and threats of COVID-19 impact on the global economy after the post-pandemic era. Yes, we are experiencing huge economic problems resulted with this pandemic, but as each threat occurs, then also a potential is also occurs, and we are now very delighted to listen to what type of opportunities also this pandemic bring to the youth, and what His Excellency's advice for the entrepreneurs of the post-pandemic era. Excellency, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Brother Ahmed. Thank you, Brother Taha. It is indeed a great pleasure and honor always to participate in activities with ISYF to empower youth in OIC member states. Today, I'm quite privileged to see that we have a number of young diplomats and young youth leaders to be part of this panel of today, especially of our nations. What are we facing with this unprecedented crisis? No one has imagined that the whole world will change like this in just a few months. People behaviors, social interactions, economies, of course, health affecting everyone, disturbing people in their social activities, in their psychological thinking about themselves, about their families, about their communities, and of course, with a great threat and challenges to economies, worldwide, especially economies in developing countries where most of the member states of OIC, they are from developing or least developing countries. I will just read quickly a statement on COVID-19, and then I'm going to talk about threats and opportunities. Of course, I'm focusing on economic opportunities, because mainly we work on economic development. We support startup entrepreneurs to develop their businesses and also to sustain and grow small and micro, small and medium businesses, in more than 52 countries worldwide. We have been working with governments, we have been working with financial institutions, we have been working with universities, we have been working with NGOs, we have been working with regional and international organizations. We're working with the Islamic Development Bank. We're working with the OIC Secretariat in Jeddah. We're working with ISYF. We're working with the Global Entrepreneurs Network. We're working with the Islamic Chamber. We're working with the International Society of SMEs, and. This is mainly to work in enhancing what we call the ecosystem for development and nurturing of micro and small and medium businesses. We work at the national level in different countries. We work in a big number in sub-Saharan countries, in a number of Arab countries, We work in India, in China, in Turkey, in Italy, in Cyprus, Armenia, and other countries to support entrepreneurs to start their businesses and to grow with their businesses. But this wouldn't happen if we don't work with support institutions in the area of innovation, entrepreneurship, and development of micro and small businesses. In the last few months with this pandemic, the COVID-19, we started to develop tools. We started to bring a lot of mechanisms, strategies, policies on how we should work with entrepreneurs, with support institutions, because we cannot stay still. We cannot be static. We have to work with a dynamic, vibrant part of our communities, which are entrepreneurs. But if we look into the current COVID-19 crisis, which has been caused by a sudden virus imposed, I will just read the statement, which I have just summarized. This virus imposed collapse in the supply of labor in production and trade, coupled with the confinement of consumers, leading to a breakdown in demand for several goods and services. The International Monetary Fund also stated that many countries are facing a multi-year crisis that include health crisis, domestic economic crisis, falling external demand, capital outflows, and a collapse in commodity prices. The nature of the current crisis, therefore, differs considerably to the 2007-2008 financial crisis, and is widely expected to have a more profound and longer-lasting negative impact globally. In addition, this epidemic is affecting rich and poor differently. Faced with the impact of the spread of COVID-19, people fare very differently, both health-wise and economically, depending on the resources at their disposal, depending on the country they live in, and even depending on the type of home they live in or the type of job that they have. The crisis has aggravated deep-seated inequalities between and within countries, and has reminded us just how we need to address persistent structural problems facing the entire world. This is to show that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected rich and poor, has affected within countries, within nations. Just in the last few days, we have seen what's happening in the United States of America, where they're claiming that they're the most powerful country in terms of economic and army-wise, but it has shown how the country is divided, and how there is still a lot of uneven economic balances between the different ethnic groups in the US. This is aggravated, of course, which will be coming in the coming few days with the coronavirus, because it's mainly affecting that segment of the society. If you look in and you see the number of deaths in the US, 70% of the people died from the COVID virus as figures. They are colored people. They call them colored people, which means not white people in the US. This is why I'm just giving you some examples like this. Even in rich countries, how this is being affecting, but how the challenge will change, even the politics will change the economic system in these countries, because it has exposed them. It has taken all the shield that it has been hidden within these societies. When we come and talk about the Southern Hemisphere, mainly when we talk about developing countries, we talk about threats and we talk about opportunities. Mainly the threats is when it comes into figures. The projections for 2020 range between, now what they're ranging is minus, the GDP of countries is getting minus by about minus 8.8%. This is according to the WTO. Among this, projections, International Monetary Fund is the main reference point for us to assess the economic impact of COVID-19. Accordingly, global growth will shrink by minus 4.2%, minus 4.2%. A difference of 7% points compared to the perceptions published above the outbreak of the crisis 2020. This is according to the IMF. So you can see the big fall of that crisis. You know, when we talk about globally that we're going to have less than 7% minus of the economies of the world, this is, if we take it to developing countries, you can see how we should multiply and look at multiplying that economic crisis in developing countries. If we talk about global trade and investment, the world trade volumes are expected to drop between minus 3.2% up to 90% by the end of 2020. Minus, okay? Of course, when I say minus, some countries, they will still be trading, they will still be bringing commodities to other countries, but as a total, if we take the total global figure, the trade volume is going to be by minus 9%. This according to the World Trade Organization and the IMF. Capital flows are now being diverted toward advanced economies, which means whatever investment, whatever funding is going to be coming is going toward the advanced economies, mainly in the Northern Hemisphere, which means we are going to face more problems, challenges, and difficulties when we're talking about flow of finance and investment in our countries. I mean, developing countries. As of 13th of May, UNCTAD studies have shown that the coronavirus led to a 3% drop in global trade values in the first quarter of 2020, just at the beginning of the crisis of the virus. The downturn is expected to accelerate in the second quarter, according to UNCTAD, which project a quarter-on-quarter decline of 27%. 27%. You know, just to see now, in the first quarter, there was a decline of 3% on the global trade and investment. The projection now, every quarter, this will drop to 27%. This will lead to a very important question, global poverty. Assuming a drop in global GDP based on the IMF estimate, the expected increase in the share of people living in extreme poverty will range from 0.8% to 1.5% points. This is equivalent to an increase between 50 to 70 million people, compared with the original estimates for 2020. Other figures using different GDP growth projections and poverty baseline indicate an increase of nearly 420 million people in poverty, additional people living in extreme poverty. Those are very alarming figures, but those are figures of the IMF, UNCTAD, and the World Trade Organization, which shows and reflect the magnitude of this crisis. And we're talking today about the aftermath of this crisis. So we want to shift from that very negative image to a positive image, to the opportunities. What are the opportunities which we can do a reverse, to ensure that we are not going to have that number of more than 420 more people living in extreme poverty, which, it will be coming from our countries, countries of members of mainly of the OIC. The opportunities, because I'm talking from economic point of view, should be led by economic factors, by entrepreneurs, by women and male entrepreneurs, to start thinking of where are the areas which we can bring our businesses in the front. What are the new ideas? What are the new businesses which we can develop? First of all, in some countries where we're working in, we started to work in, we have realized that already there is an acceleration for some of the SMEs and entrepreneurs to be pushed through what we called the digital revolution or the fourth industrial revolution. They started to utilize more and more, they started to digitalize all their activities as the case of today. You know, we are having more than 120 delegates or so, you know, in a Zoom conference. More and more, we are more digitalized. More and more entrepreneurs in the ICT and in the IT, more and more they're getting more businesses. More and more they're developing more apps, more softwares and so on. This goes into the direction where we have been working and what we have been trying to do over the last 5 to 7 years on how we can support micro and small and medium businesses in developing countries to be in the forefront of the fourth industrial revolution or the digital revolution. In a way, COVID-19 is helping to accelerate this. And this is why I'm saying those are opportunities for entrepreneurs in our countries to come in and to utilize it, because we don't know how long this virus will be there. We don't know when the vaccine will be there. We don't know when the medicine will be there. But I'm not talking about politicians. Scientists, they say no less than a year or even more. This is going to be the trial phase. So economic dynamics, they work very fast, you know. So this will allow the entrepreneurs to develop their businesses according to the needs of the market, the digital market, you know. Now, for example, e-commerce started to flourish in a way. There are so many programs, so many activities, even small entrepreneurs from the IT side or from the product supply side, they started to be part of that system, you know, the e-commerce. A lot of entrepreneurs started to develop a lot of softwares, you know, to be utilized for the digital setup. A lot of entrepreneurs, they started to know more and more about machinery digitalization to be part of their work in fashion, in wood processing, in food, you know. So more, just in a day or so, we started to realize that entrepreneurs, as they have been sleeping, they have just waked up and they started to be part of that digital revolution. يعني نشتغل على ما كل just for a second. ده احنا شغالين على البرزنتيشن. انت افتحها، ما ترك افتحها. Okay. Because no, I'm just had a question from the panelists or from the directions from Istanbul. So those opportunities mainly, it will be in the area of the global trade and investment. Okay. As I said, that the global trade values dropped by 3%, and every quarter it's going to be growing at 27%. And it will take us to the global poverty. This will make us to shift on how we can shift our policies, okay, for future economic resilience. How we will look into investment in the STI. Now we are utilizing this more and more, which is in science, technology, and innovation. It will be the key drivers of the economic development, can help, of course, in the immediate impact, but it takes us to the long term of economic recovery, but to be in the forefront of digitalization. You know, now even in UNIDO, we have just had a restructure last week, and now our investment technology promotion directorate now is called Digitalization, Innovation, and Investment. Digitalization, innovation, then it will bring us into investment. Fine. So if we will look into what could be the areas, okay, the areas, it will be in food, it will be on healthcare. Of course, as I said, digitalization is going to be a very important sector. ICT is going to be a very important sector. Then there is, because right now we have been facing a food crisis. This food crisis, it may continue if the closing of countries will continue. Of course, this depends on the pandemic itself. But then we will realize that when the opening will come up, there's going to be a lot of need in food products. There's going to be a lot of need in health products. There's going to be in fisheries, in water, in infrastructure. You know, why I'm saying this, because those are opportunities for entrepreneurs. I mean, I'm talking about the national level. I'm not talking about the global level. I'm talking about opportunities in every single nation. Why? Because countries have been closing up. So there are opportunities within the nation for the entrepreneurs to pick it up. The supply chain from the international markets to the national and the local market, it will take time to pick up again. Because I have shown you, according to the percentage of trade, it's going to fall in the coming quarters by minus 27%. So it means the national or the local supply chain can pick up. If the entrepreneurs, they will become dynamic and they will become vibrant. Because every nation needs food. Every nation needs water. Every nation needs agricultural products. Okay? Those are priorities. Every nation needs to build houses. They need infrastructure. So those are internal needs which will not be able to be supplied through the international value chain because of the COVID-19. This is why we're saying there is a big opportunities, you know, for entrepreneurs in those countries. But if there are the right policies at the government level and the availability of support institutions to be ready to support those entrepreneurs. And those are mainly, we call them financial and non-financial support institutions. So to reverse that cycle of that threat and to bring it into opportunities at the national level for OIC countries, countries have to adapt the policies, have to work on supporting. And for us, this is a golden time to do what we were trying to do and what we're trying to talk to governments, what decision makers, entrepreneurs, NGOs, chambers of commerce, how to enhance the ecosystems for the domestic investment through innovation and entrepreneurs to mobilize foreign direct investment. This is what do we do. This is our job. We have been working into that program over the last 30 years. I myself, for the last 30 years, have been working in supporting, developing ecosystems for micro and small businesses through partners, international, regional, and at the local level. Now, we're finding that the threats of COVID-19 will bring countries into fast actions to develop the local value chains in their countries to have products and services through their micro and small businesses. If I will give quickly, where we have been very active in the last few months, I would say in the Arab region mainly. The Arab region is, more than 60% of the population of the Arab region, they are between the age of 18 to 30%. The Arab region is facing one of the highest unemployment rates, worldwide. Okay, the Arab region is facing a number of what we call protracted civil conflicts. In Syria, in Iraq, in Lebanon, in Sudan, and Yemen, and other countries. They have problem of stability, problems of change of governments and so on. So we have been trying to work with a number of countries, even in the Gulf countries, where they're rich oil countries, but they're having a problem when it comes to youth employment, and where we are finding also there's a big gap in the market for the value chain, where I'm talking about the Gulf countries, where entrepreneurs can chip in and can bring and can develop their own businesses. For example, the response we had here in Bahrain, we started to, just now, we talked about the globally of what's happening. We talked about the threats. We talked about the opportunities. We zoomed it by figures from the IMF, from the UNCTAD and the WTO. And then we've been sharing how this could be reversed at the national level. I will give you an example. For example, what we have been doing in Bahrain, we started immediately to develop a program online to do business counseling for existing entrepreneurs. We started with existing entrepreneurs. We started to do online mentorship. We developed an app, we call them volunteer mentors, and we have a number of volunteer mentors now working and mentoring other entrepreneurs. We had developed a lot of team meetings from financial groups, from research groups, from university groups, okay, and we started to let them to work together. We have been working even at the school level, at the secondary level, where we have been engaging them on program on innovation and entrepreneurship. Immediately, this program was started at the beginning of the year, but with the COVID-19, it has all been shifted online. And I was really inspired to see the enthusiasm of those students and how good were they were in using all the apps and all the social media and so on. We had more than 750 students engaged in that program from 31 schools. We have shortlisted 25 projects, and some of them were also related to COVID-19, and they're all related to SDGs. We have 3 finalists, and by 15th of November, even we're going to have a virtual ceremony, which will be attended by the Minister of Education by himself. Next week, we're starting a fully, what we call enterprise development and investment promotion program, those for startup entrepreneurs, where we provide them and we equip them on financial analysis, marketing, we bring success stories. And anyway, this is the way how we start developing and promoting entrepreneurs. We are working with the Arab Union of Chamber of Commerce and the Arab Union of Banks to develop a full-fledged program for Arab innovators, all to be online, because we should be working at the national level and we should be working at the international level. We're diagnosing and we're identifying a number of opportunities for entrepreneurs, to be part of the era of the aftermath of COVID-19. I don't want to go in depth into that because I know the audience is mixed. They are not entrepreneurs. They are young diplomats and they are youth leaders. So I was just giving a quick brief on that. Put the video. I will give you also a video which we have developed for the UN media and communication, the Arab branch in New York, where they requested from us to showcase how we have been working with entrepreneurs, and we'll show you some of the entrepreneurs, how they have been working from home and how they've been doing excellent businesses from home. And some of them, they have been making more money even before the COVID-19. Within the COVID-19, they started to make more money because they managed to reach their customers and their clients even from home. That video. Then we can have questions and answers, and then we see how we do the finalization.
Today, with the unprecedented COVID-19 crisis, which is impacting and influencing every human being on this earth, we started to support and provide counseling and follow-up to entrepreneurs from home.
I haven't expected this pandemic, to be honest, and I haven't seen it. And in fact, I was thinking a couple of days back about how small businesses and big businesses need to really put into consideration natural disasters or things that we always think about or probably see in movies but never expect to actually happen.
3 of our university stores are closed. We also closed 2 of our restaurants. So when we talk about this, we have 8 restaurants closed due to the virus.
So we were affected because we supply coffee shops, gyms, hotels, and the ban or lockdown that we have in Bahrain has forced some businesses to stop operating.
Working in isolation has actually, the first few days I have to say were quite difficult because it was difficult to put myself on a routine and to do that in such a small space as I was constricted to my room only since I had been traveling. However, once I got that routine in place, I've actually found it to be quite rewarding in a sense of it's made me very productive.
We've become 95% online, and all our stores today are 24 hours in support of the virus. So from a problem, we try to make a solution. It's not giving us what we used to have, but still a big improvement.
I'm a firm believer in giving back to the community. So basically, I personally work with the government now, and specifically Ministry of Youth and Sports, on providing free daily training through our company and myself as well personally.
It's very important to remember that there are others around you which actually need your skill set. And at a time like this where things are very uncertain and many people around the world might need basically some of the information that you know or you can offer, or some of the skills that you have and you can offer, I have started a small group where I send out some information about how to boost your immunity, how to better your health, and really to educate those around me with the things that I have been so fortunate to learn myself.
كل إنسان في كل وضع لازم يوجد مخرج، وما في شيء من غير مخرج. لازم يفكر بطريقة شلون يقدر ينتج. إذا ما قدر ينتج حتى في كبزنس، يقدر ينتج كشراكة مجتمعية. شلون ينشر الوعي، شلون في أشياء كثير الواحد يقدر ينتج فيها ويقدر يشارك فيها في هاي الوضع.
Well, actually, this video we have developed this video, by the way, 2 months back, okay, at the beginning of the virus itself. And it started to be very inspiring. We have other cases also have been filmed and we have been sharing it. This has been giving a lot of support to the entrepreneurs to start working together, not only developing their business, they became a very important figure to the communities. They started to work with different communities. They started to share information. Now that profile for us, we have more than 250 entrepreneurs We have started with those 4, which you have seen. Now more than 250 entrepreneurs joined that. I'm talking only here in Bahrain, and this is going more and more to the community. So those are the opportunities we're talking about. You know, those are the opportunities we're saying to the entrepreneurs you have to look into. So when I come to our young diplomats here and our young leaders, which are working with the youth, this is the message we have to tell our youth. You have a future. You should make dreams. We are now talking about the COVID-19, and we wanted to see immediately how we are going to face this challenge and what's going to be beyond it. Those are the messages we have to bring it to our youth. Of course, I'm talking about economic opportunities because this is my area and this is my domain. I would like to stop here because I want to give the opportunities if there are comments or questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I mean, again, it was a very outstanding presentation, insightful presentation that we recently have a chance to listen. And the points that you mentioned was very crucial. I mean, from local level to the international system, we need all transformations to relieve these economic disasters. And also it consists of lots of opportunities, as we see in the presentation. Maybe we are also facing forced digitalizations for the entrepreneurs. I mean, now we are living in a world that the biggest hotel booking company doesn't have a single hotel, and the biggest transportation company, Uber, who doesn't have a single car. I mean, this is a crucial change in the paradigm. And your recommendations about policy changes in the economic system is very important. And now the gathering here is as 2 different dimensions. I mean, yes, now they are receiving diplomatic training and learn how to how the diplomatic practices are going on in the OIC. And next 2 weeks they will be in the shoes of the ministers and discuss resolutions after writing them. And I'm sure that the recommendations of you will be the source for our delegates in their draft resolutions and their negotiations for passing that resolutions. Now, I want our esteemed delegates of the first MOIC Virtual to have the opportunity to ask questions to Dr. Hashim Hussein. And as it's the first class, I want to talk about the modality. When you want to ask a question, please raise your hands by clicking the relevant button. And don't forget to unmute yourself. If your technical connection, I mean, now, as I said, we have participants from more than 50 countries, and each country's bandwidth allocation is not the same. So if your bandwidth allocation, internet connection is eligible and sufficient, you can ask by video question. But if it's not, for allowing the technical quality, you just turn off your camera and we can hear your question very well. So if you have any questions, please raise your hands. Yes. Doctor, if you allow me, I'm going to direct the questions. Our first question is coming from Indonesia, Hakil Atha. Yes, dear Hakil, the floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, Dr. Hashim. It was very inspiring. My name is Haikal Atha. I am from Indonesia. Currently, I am studying at International Islamic University, Malaysia. My question is, in this difficult situation, what is the best policies from the government to support poor areas within the country, especially with the place which have less internet connection to enhance their economic? Thank you.
Doctor, what will be your prefer? You will going to answer each question, or you will want us to take?
No, better let us collect the questions. See the
collect
time.
the questions. Okay, then it will be a long journey, and I want to switch from Indonesia to Bosnia.
Yeah, we take 2-3 questions and then we answer them.
Okay, and I want to take a question from the Bosnia, and dear Fadil Uminhanic is with us. Yes, dear Fadil, could you direct your question? Hi.
Yes, sure. Professor, first of all, thank you for your presentation. It was really informative. It was really passionate. Thank you so much. I wanted to know, because you mentioned that your agency is doing a lot of work outside of Bahrain as well. Can you give us some of the activities that you may have done in Bosnia and Herzegovina or in the Balkan region? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, dear brother. And now I want to, after this antelope, I want to turn back to the beloved Africa. And from Nigeria, dear Tufail Adelkon is raising his hand to ask question. Yes, dear Tufail, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Adela from Tufail. I'm from Nigeria, and I must appreciate Dr. Hussein for this insightful lecture. I want to ask a question pertaining to the oil sector. Dr. Hussein, do you think there is any future in the oil sector? Looking at the fact that most developing countries in this world have focused their economy in the oil sector, shifting the focus to the post-pandemic era. Do you think there is any future in the oil sector? Thank you very much for this question.
Ahmed, I didn't hear well the program.
Me as well. Dear brother, could you ask question again by raising your voice as much as possible, please? Dear Tufail, you should unmute yourself first.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it is much more better.
Okay. I'm Tufail from Nigeria, and I would want to ask Dr. Hussein that, do you think there is any future in the oil sector? Looking at the fact that most developing countries in the world, for example, Nigeria, we build our economy in the oil sector. Do you think in the post-pandemic era, do you advise entrepreneurs to look into the oil sectors, looking at the fact that most economy of the world, as we speak, has crashed as a result of the focus in the oil sector? What is your advice to those who are looking at investing in the oil sector? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let me answer quickly these 3 questions, Ahmed.
Okay.
I will start with Indonesia, which is very interesting question. Yes, a lot of poor areas, especially in the OIC, where there is no internet. Okay, but nowadays, my brother from Indonesia, you know, even our grandmothers, which they don't read and write, they use telephones. Okay, we have several programs. I remember we had a program with Intel for Africa called SHE program, where we have been working with women, which they never went to school, how to do accounting and calculation using telephones. In Sudan, we had a program, we call them mobile mentors and counselors, where they go to the rural, remote areas by motorcycle, and they reach those poor communities, you know, working with them at the community level. So they go to the community, and the community cannot reach them by using, you know, internet and so on. This is referring to your question of in some areas where there is no internet, how can you reach them? Nowadays, there are a lot of ways, and we have learned a lot of ways, because we cannot leave anyone behind. Those people, those poor people in the remote areas, they need us more than people who live in big towns and big cities. And they can be economic vibrant, you know. They can be part of the economic value chain. But we have to reach them Yes, because if you are we're saying through the digital revolution, a lot of people will start using it. Even communities which they don't know and they don't know how to use it, we have to have our mentors, which they should go and reach them. Regarding the question from Bosnia, I will be more than happy, to work in the Balkan region in Bosnia. No, we didn't work at all in any country. Bosnia could be an ideal country. We need to receive a request to support and develop a full, and this is something we can do it with all our different partners. We develop a full-fledged program. We call it the Egypt Enterprise Development and Investment Promotion Program, where we select a counterpart and then we start developing the program in the country. This will be in partnership with universities, with some ministries, financial institutions. Will provide all the know-how, all the curriculum. We will develop the program and we do it free of charge. We don't charge any. So in Bosnia, we'll be more than happy to support, developing this program. Regarding the oil sector, of course, the oil sector is always big investments, not for a small entrepreneur. But entrepreneurs could be in the supply chain of providing support services, because in the oil industry, there are a lot of services which could be done by entrepreneurs, but not the business itself. The business of oil is mainly done by big corporates and mainly international corporates. Ahmed, back to you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. I mean, as we expect normally, we are receiving lots of attention and question requests, and we want to keep the continent-based equivalence. And now I want to give floor to dear Miss Adina Tahir from Pakistan to ask a question. Yes, Miss Adina, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum to everyone. I am really humbled to be a part of this opportunity, and thank you to ICYF and thank you to Dr. Hashim. I am an environmental engineering student, so I would really like to ask about the possibility of clean energy technologies. Do you think that UNIDO is supporting them, especially in developing countries where there is a shortfall of energy already? And do you think that given the situation with oil, what is the potential in clean energy technologies for us now?
It's a very important question, and I'm sure that this clean energy issue should be reflected in the draft resolutions that you'll work on in the next 10 days. Doctor, if you allow me, I want to take another bulk of 3 questions to receive your wise guidance. And I want to now give floor to the, just let me see that, Miss Nabiha from Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. It's a pleasure to be in your presence. My question to Dr. Hashim is that countries like us that are like underdeveloping countries, they mostly depend for their economic stability on foreign direct investment. What will be the future in post COVID-19 situation in that?
Thank you very much. And Doctor, I want to take last question from the brotherly country from Egypt, dear brother Sharif Al Farai. Yes, floor is yours, dear brother Sharif.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me such an opportunity to express myself and to ask my question. My name is Sharif Al Farai. I'm from Egypt. I'm a student at Faculty of Economics and Political Science at Cairo University. I want to thank Dr. Hashim for talking about the entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial solutions, as I'm highly interested in entrepreneurship. So my question is how we can consider the entrepreneurship and business and entrepreneurial solutions as a way to peaceful coexistence and the economic growth between our countries during the pandemic, and regardless the economic instability. So how can we use entrepreneurship towards achieving the economic stability in our countries? So thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I think this is the end of the second bulk of questions. Floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, actually, I need someone has to mute the microphones. Okay. You need to have a full-fledged department on green energy. Actually, interesting enough, next week, I'm also an ambassador of international, it's an international program called Ambassadors for Social Corporate Responsibility. I'm part of that group. Next week, we are having our second international conference on finance. This is going to be organized by Al Baraka Group, Al Baraka Group of Banking and the Arab Association of Banking. And it is titled Green Financing or Green Banking. I can share with you the link where I myself am going to talk about green financing and how entrepreneurs can develop businesses in the green. We have a lot of, if you can take our email and then you can coordinate with us. Yes, we can help you and we can tell you what we can do. Regarding the issue of foreign direct investment during the COVID-19, as I said, there is going to be a shift on investment, what we have been seeing from the UNCTAD and the IMF. It will go more into advanced economies. But I say this is the opportunity to develop more the domestic investments through innovation and entrepreneurship. And this is also related to the question from Egypt. So this opportunity that we don't have to wait for the mobilization of foreign direct investment during this time, we should start working in developing our domestic investment through innovation and entrepreneurship. Yes, definitely, entrepreneurship, it is a very important tool during the COVID or after the COVID or beyond the COVID. Just for Egypt, I'm happy to announce, Mr. Sharif, we're working with the Egyptian Union of Chambers and the Prime Minister Office and the Arab Union of Chambers of Commerce and Industry and the Ministry of Industry and Commerce and SMEs, Mrs. Niveen Jame, and the SME Fund of Egypt to develop a full-fledged program for the enterprise development and investment promotion. And there is going to be a center in each chamber in the different localities or governorate, hafazat, in Egypt. Actually, we were supposed to start this immediately after Ramadan, so right now, but with the COVID, this is going to be delayed for some time. They're adopting the same modality of Egypt as Egypt to be a full-fledged country in the Arab countries to develop this program. And then we are going to work with the Arab Union of Chambers and the Arab League to bring, for the first time, that entrepreneur centers to be within the chambers of commerce. So the private sector will have a role and advocacy to support innovation entrepreneurs and not only governments. Ahmed?
Thank you very much, Doctor. I mean, we are receiving lots of questions. If you allow me, I want to have 3 more before ending, if it's fitting your schedule, Doctor. And I want to give the floor to the dear Miss Tani Barakat from Cameroon. Yes, Miss Tani, the floor is yours, madam.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I would first like to thank the organizing team and thank Dr. Hashim for having this session. My name is Tani Barakat. I'm a Cameroonian currently studying in Bangladesh. From his presentation, I came to understand that definitely a lot of poverty will result after the pandemic. And he advised us to invest in particular sectors, such as food, water, and technology. Now, as youth, maybe we might not have the capital to invest. So could he please give us some tips on how to invest in these sectors? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Tanya. And also I want to give floor to Mr. Dauda Otger. I'm so sorry for if you forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong, and from and could you also tell your country, because it's only seen CO here. I think it is Comoros, or which country?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dauda Widraogo.
And from where are you from, Dauda?
I'm from Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire.
Côte d'Ivoire. Okay, welcome. Great to have you here.
So my question is about to Dr. Hussein. So can we say that the entrepreneurship is the solution in the post-COVID-19 period? As we know that the people, the most affected people during this crisis are the little businesses owners. So there are people who are lost everything during that period. So can we say that entrepreneurship, so the little business they make, is the solution in the post-COVID-19 period?
No, thank you, dear brother. It is very general and very, very important question. And I want to take the last question from the dear Hein Hatat O from Myanmar. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm really thankful for the knowledge package that I've got today. My question is, we're very sure that the global risk management system, even in the developed countries, is not working very well. So it's very alarming for the countries like the developing one. So I'd like to hear the thoughts of Dr. Hashim upon the global risk management, and then the progress and the process of it. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Yeah.
What's your question?
Yeah, global risk management. Yeah, I would like to know the process and the progress. Yeah.
No, but the global risk management for what? Referring to what?
In kind of the pandemic situations, like for this kind of situation, we have to manage for the risks, right? So how the countries are managing the risks, and I would like to, and then what are the future of it? Yeah, I would like to know about it.
Could you clarify what do you mean by the risk? I mean, financial risks for the development of the entrepreneurship. What type of risk?
Yes, kind of like financial,
defeating the financial risk after the pandemic.
Pandemic era, yeah.
Thank you. I think this is the summary of it, Doctor. Thank you very much. Doctor, the floor is yours.
Fine. There are more questions really related to entrepreneurs. I really like the question of Côte d'Ivoire of Daudu. Well, entrepreneurship is a solution before, now, and after the COVID-19. Entrepreneurship, it is the magic solution for economic development. But when you say entrepreneurship, and this goes also back to the question from Cameroon, from Tani, saying, okay, even if you want to look into bringing those ideas in whatever sectors now or after, we are self-made, we are startup entrepreneurs. From where we will get the funding, from where we will get the technical assistance for the know-how. And this is why I have been referring that countries have to develop policies, and they have to work in developing the ecosystem for supporting entrepreneurs. So when an entrepreneur will come and will bring the idea, from where he will get the funds. So there should be at the national level, and a lot of organizations like the Islamic Development Bank, like the Arab Bank for Development of Africa, the Saudi Fund, the Kuwaiti Fund, they have been helping a lot of sub-Saharan African countries in developing credit lines to support youth and startup entrepreneurs. I know a number of examples. But then at the same time, you need the non-financial services to help developing the business plan, getting the technology. When someone from Cameroon or from Côte d'Ivoire, he will be ready, then he has to be addressed to that support institutions to start helping him or her developing their business plan, which should also include the technology provision, and then access to finance, and then the qualification for access to finance. So these two questions are related to entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, yes, it is the solution today and tomorrow for economic development, to have countries having economic or political stability or not having economic or political stability. Still, economic development is the driving force, and entrepreneurship, yes, it is now and the future for any economic development, because it is the future of the young generation. It is the future of the young generation where they will create jobs to others. It's the future of developing economies through small and medium enterprises, because all economies worldwide depend on small and medium enterprises. When it comes to risk management, you know, if you talk about the COVID-19, I don't know, and I'm not very sure what countries are going to do or look into the risk management and what they can do. You know, no one right now knows what is going to happen and how it will happen. As I'm saying, you have seen the downfalls in figures in terms of trade and investment. Risk management now, it is a very crucial question, but no answer, because you don't know what's going to be the direction of this disease and what's going to do.
Thank you, Doctor. I mean, as we know, you are the supporter of the youth entrepreneurship at the global level. So if you allow us, we want to address you 3 more questions, because we are receiving lots of questions and this is a good opportunity. And I want to give floor to Ms. Najia Razavi from Afghanistan to direct her question. Yes, dear Ms. Najia, floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you. Well.
I'm Najia Razavi from Afghanistan, and thank you from Dr. Saad for their great presentation. And really, the entrepreneur was really interesting for me, and I go through all their thoughts during the presentation. Just I need Dr. Saad advice that how I can start or be an entrepreneur in my country that security is not stable, COVID-19 is increasing, and more people economic is down. But I am still thinking on my personal business and doing. Thank you.
Dagir, did you able to receive the question?
No.
I think the question, could you repeat it again? Maybe you can turn off the video. That will increase the sound quality, Miss. Can you hear us right now? I think now we are facing an communication problem, and if we'll solve, we'll turn back again. And I want to give floor to the dear Sidi Kamara from Mali. We are returning back to the Africa again in regards to the Mali. Yes, dear Sidi.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you very well.
Yeah, my name is Sidi Kamara from Mali, and I'm studying Islamic economic and investment at university. Thanks to Dr. Hasim. My question is that our country is a poor country in economic before this pandemic, and now it's going worse every day, day by day. My question is, if he has a solution or advice for us to be in the right path to development in economic way. And the second one, if they have the Bahrain or his organization have some activity in my country here, I want to know that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm looking to And Mr. Sharika Umar from India. Yes, floor is yours.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you for the speech, Dr. Hashim. I'm from India, and but I live in Qatar. I study here. So my question is about the situation of Indian Muslims, as we all are aware about like what's happening in India with the Muslims. I mean, Muslims are the largest minority. I mean, the population of Muslim in India is like third. It comes to third after Indonesia and Pakistan. But unfortunately, India is like is not a member of OIC because of it being a secular country. But my question is like during this pandemic and before that also, we witnessed a kind of social boycotting, like economic boycotting of Indian Muslims. So there were news like people like the people from the other religion, like they were trying to boycott and not buying products from the Muslims. And also in the pandemic, we have seen that the Indian Muslims were blamed, and the situation of Indian Muslims are very bad now. So I was thinking, what is the agenda of OIC or maybe the UN Development Program for the Indian Muslim for the betterment of Indian Muslims? Thank you.
For economic empowerment. Yes, I'm sure that if the Indo is an important projects as well for this. And Doctor, this will be the last questions. I mean, I have to stop somewhere. We are receiving dozens of them. But as a matter of positive discrimination, I want to give floor to Afghanistan, Miss Basira Pakam. The floor is yours, dear Basira. Dear Miss Basira, are you hearing us?
Hello.
Can she send it by writing her question?
Yes, dear Miss Basira, could you also send by writing, and I'm going to
read it.
Yes. It will be much more easier. And then let me take the question of...
Fine, let me answer the question still if you manage to write this.
Okay.
Regarding CD Camara from Mali, yes, we have a very good opportunity because we're going to start now very soon in Mali with the Ministry of Investment, Her Excellency Mrs. Safia. We're going to start a full-fledged program on enterprise development investment promotion. This is funded by BADIA, the Arab Bank for Development of Africa. It's going to be for a 2.5 years program. It's going to be the first program in Mali and as part of the G5, Dul Sahel, Sahel G5, where we are going to develop the whole setup to support financial and non-financial support for startup of entrepreneurs. Well, we should have been now in Mali, but because of the COVID-19, now we're working on the Zoom. But this is a very good news for you. Inshallah, we'll contact you to see when we're going to Mali to show you what are we going to be doing there. But we're going to be the first country. Then we're going to work in Burkina Faso. We're going to work in Chad, and we're going to work in Mauritania. Okay, with the same program. But Mali is going to be the first country in the G5. Regarding India, well, solutions of protracted social conflict, it only works with economic empowerment, and in India, for example, I know al-Waqf, the money of Waqf for the Muslim community is into billions of dollars, but it's not well invested, all countries, all minorities, because peace and development are the two sides of the same coin. It's through economic empowerment. There is nothing you can do. And I heard Ahmed was bumbling, also doing the same, saying economic empowerment. I heard him talking when this question was being raised. Economic empowerment is the solution. Entrepreneurship is the solution. Even communities, me as an international organization, Muslims or non-Muslims, Christians, Hindus, whatever, they're all human beings. But economic empowerment always enforce people economic stability, which lead to social and political stability. I would like, of course, in ending here, I would like to thank very much my colleagues from ISYF, especially my brother Tam and brother Ahmed to moderate. I was very pleased and honored to be with this what I want to say, I don't want to say smart because we are all smart, but with this privileged group of young leaders in our communities, and I hope that more and more we can be there, we can listen to your questions, and more we should be engaged with the youth to understand better. Also, we need to listen to you. We need to listen to you. We need to listen to you because we also learn from you. But this kind of conversation is very important because nowadays everyone is into this taboo. Everyone is asking questions. Everyone's talking. What is the future? What we can do? What's going to be after COVID-19? Allah is there. God is there. We are believers. We believe in God, and I don't want to say just talk that we're going to get out of it. We are going to get out of it because God is with us. God has created us. God is saving us. So God will enlighten our futures, inshallah. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. It was a privilege to have you here in this first module-wise virtual.
Can we bring everyone into photo to have a group photo just on the slide?
I think
Can I put in a suggestion, please, pertaining to the lecture?
Sorry,
the technical team, could you unmute everyone and give a group photo technique? Technical team, can we do that?
Yeah, I think the way you can do, if you go to the participant section, and you will see the picture of all of them.
Yeah.
No, but we need to take photos and then to be sent to everyone.
Of course, we will handle this. Enes, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'll be taking the print screen. If before we're closing, if we can just smile and wave hands, I'll be taking print screen of each scene, inshallah. With the sign of Mr. Moderator, Mr. Khalid Hatib, I'll be taking the screenshot as well.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much for with us today, and this is a very interesting and enjoyable start. For the next 2 weeks, will be an intensive training for our selected participants, and I'm wishing them good luck on their way to be the young diplomats. And I'm sure that your insights will be used effectively by them in their draft resolutions. And we will also share with you, Doctor, the final documents of the COMSEC committee that will be discussed by them. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam.